Hey guys, before we get into this video, I just want to point out that the best way to tell the difference between one miner and another is how many shares you're getting on the pool. But in order to do that, you need to give enough time because there can be some variations. And for that reason, I just wanted to point out that I wanted to make this video as fast as I possibly could, but I'll be doing a follow-up to this because the comparisons were so close. I want to see who submits the most shares on the pool with static difficulty. In other words, a pool that is not changing difficulty at all. It stays stagnant, and that way we have a fair comparison. But let's go ahead and take a look at the results so far. What's up guys, welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's video we got a battle of the titans. lolMiner versus BzMiner versus Rigel Miner. Who is going to be the king of NEXA mining? Now before we get into it, if this is the type of content that you enjoy, do me a favor, hit that like and hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And let's take a look at each one of the GitHub pages for these miners. So Rigel Miner version 1.3.7, and then we have lolMiner version 1.68, and then we have BzMiner version 13.2.0. Now as far as dev fees are concerned, they are all the same with the exception of BzMiner, but you can disable the community fund, which is a dev fund essentially for NEXA. So by default it's enabled, but you can disable it using the following command that you see here, which I will leave in the description below. So all three with the exact same dev fee. As you can see, each one is 2% on NEXA. Let's go back to Rigel Miner. And there you go, NEXA 2%. So I've got some instructions that I want to cover before we get into this. You really want to make sure that you update your drivers to the latest version. If you're not familiar with how to do that, I'll leave a link to one of Son of a Tech's videos where he shows you how to update your NVIDIA drivers. But you want to make sure you use 525.85.05, and this is the command that you would use to do that. And the reason it's so important is because lolMiner version 1.68 does require this particular version or higher in order to set core offsets in your extra arguments. Otherwise you'd have to use NVTool, or you'd have to set that in your miner overclocks, and it's just kind of a pain. So make sure you update those drivers. Then of course you're going to create your flight sheet, and then you're going to run the new flight sheet. Now depending on when you're watching this video would determine whether or not you need to install those new versions into HiveOS. Now HiveOS has been really good about updating in a timely manner, so I think that by the time you are watching this there's a good chance you won't have to go through these extra steps, but we'll cover them just in case. So let's go ahead and pull up one of my rigs here. So first thing you would want to do to install the latest version is you would select remote access and then select Hive Shell Start. Now you can also just simply go to run command, and you can paste the command to install and run the new miner. However, you can't see it installing, and you can't verify that it completed without errors unless you're in the Hive Shell. So if you run Hive Shell, you're just going to right click, paste from browser, right click again, and then paste that command in there. And then once you do that, you're going to hit OK, and then you're going to hit enter once you see that command, and you can watch it install to verify everything is okay. So once you have the latest version installed, you should see up here at the top, if you put your cursor over lolMiner version 1.67, you'll notice that mine says running version 1.68. And that way you know it actually completed and everything is okay. But again, you may not have to go through these extra steps depending on when you're watching this video. Let's go ahead and take a look at the flight sheet. So right at this very moment, everything is running LOL, but I'll show you guys what it looks like on the other flight sheets also. So you're going to select NEXA as your coin, you're going to select your wallet, you're going to select configure in miner for your pool, then you're going to select lolMiner, then you're going to select setup miner config, make sure that NEXA is your coin or your algo. You can use your template or your default template for your wallet as well as your worker name. Then you're going to put your pool in here, followed by your port here. And then in lolMiner, you can add your overclocks in your extra config arguments. Now, if you're going to use either BzMiner or Rigel Miner, let's go ahead and take a look at those flight sheets. So of course we still have NEXA for the coin, still got your wallet, still selecting configure and miner. In this case we're going to use BzMiner, and let's take a look at the miner config. So pretty similar, NEXA for the algorithm, template wallet or default template for the wallet, the worker name, no password unless you have one. Now this is a little different. You're going to put your pool stratum here as well as the port. And then for your extra arguments, if you're using BzMiner, they are different commands than they would be for lolMiner. And then if you're using Rigel Miner, those commands are also different. You can find all of those commands in each one of their GitHubs. You just simply scroll down a little ways and you'll start to see all of these different commands. So for example, your memory clock, locked core clock, lock memory clock, and power limits, and so on. So let's get back to these flight sheets here. So that's what BzMiner is going to look like. Let's take a look at Rigel Miner. So of course, NEXA as the coin, your wallet, configure and miner, Rigel Miner as the miner, and then setup miner config. We've got NEXA as our algorithm, default template for our wallet, same thing for our password. Actually, this is a little different. So your password is going to be worker name, and then your worker name, you can also put worker name. And then you've got your pool with the stratum, and then here you can see a example of my overclocks here. So same thing on BzMiner and Rigel Miner. By default, it looks like Hive has not added the latest version, so you would go through those extra steps in the event that you're watching this video early and they have not added it. So let's go ahead and take a look at my spreadsheet here. So if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I've been documenting all of these different miners and how they perform against one another when a newer version releases. Now originally WildRig was the only version or the only miner that would mine NEXA. And then BzMiner came out with his version, and we had a pretty significant increase in hash rate and efficiency. And then we had lolMiner step into the game with version 1.66 and dramatically increased efficiency and hash rate. And then lolMiner came out with a newer version, once again increasing efficiency and hash rate. Then we had Rigel Miner step up and also increased efficiency and hash rate as well. Now, this was the latest update until today, and all three miners came out with a new version on the same day. Absolutely love the competition. So as you can see, this was version 1.3.5. 1.3.6 was also pretty much the same efficiency and hash rate, but they adjusted a couple of little things like rejected shares and so forth. But let's take a look at the difference between 1.3.5 and 1.3.7. So as you can see, we went from about 52 megahash to 54 megahash on a 3060 Ti, and then 63.3 to 67.33 on a 3070. And our power stayed about the same on a 3070, but actually went down on a 3060 Ti. The 3070 Ti would jump from 65.5 megahash to 70.5 megahash, used a little bit more power. 3080 we went from 90.69 megahash at 169 watts to 96.72 at 174 watts. And then we went from 101.6 megahash on a 3080 Ti at 211 watts to 108.5 at 219 watts. So pretty good efficiency. On some cards it's pretty drastic. Hash rate definitely increased. But how does that compare to BzMiner? Well, with these particular overclocks, we want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. So on all of these, I've been using core offset of 265, locked core at 1515, and locked memory at 5001. And as you can see, a 3060 Ti hash rate increased a little bit on BzMiner. However, the power went up also. So efficiency-wise, Rigel Miner is actually slightly better on a 3060 Ti. And that's the same story for a 3070. So we go from 67.3 mega hash to 66.72, and our power increases while our hash rate goes down slightly on BzMiner. Now, when we get to a 3070 Ti, the story changes a little bit. We go from 70.47 mega hash at 122 watts to 70.79 at 119 watts, and as you can see, efficiency increased significantly. And then on a 3080, 96 mega hash to 98, power stayed the same. And then on a 3080 Ti, we went from 108.5 to 115, but our power did increase. However, efficiency was still better than Rigel Miner. So how about lolMiner? So if we compare lolMiner to these, we have another significant increase in hash rate. We jump up to 56.6 on a 3060 Ti and only increase power by 3 watts. And it looks like our efficiency got slightly better on a 3060 Ti compared to BzMiner. However, a 3060 Ti is still better on Rigel Miner. Now how about a 3070? So 3070, we increased another couple of mega hash on top of BzMiner, and about 1 mega hash better than Rigel Miner. Efficiency wise though, we're about the same as BzMiner and significantly less than Rigel Miner. So then we've got a 3070 Ti. We jumped up 1.2 mega hash, but we also jumped up about roughly 4 watts. Efficiency wise, a little bit lower than BzMiner and about the same but slightly better than Rigel Miner. Now, once we get into the higher end cards like a 3080, look at this, we jump all the way up to 100.9 mega hash at 182 watts, which the wattage is significantly higher than BzMiner, and our efficiency did go down a little bit, but it is still about the same as Rigel Miner. And then the last card is a 3080 Ti. We jump all the way up to 118.7 mega hash, but our power jumps up to 239, and as you can see, BzMiner is coming in on top with efficiency. So how did we do overall using these same overclocks? Well, as far as total mega hash, on Rigel Miner we're at 397.1 versus BzMiner at 405.87 versus lolMiner 415.78. Now how about total power? So we jump from 718 to 739 to 768, and as far as efficiency is concerned, Rigel Miner is on top at 2.82. Now, how about the difference between BzMiner and lolMiner? It looks like BzMiner is just slightly above lolMiner, but not by a whole lot. And what about profitability? So these numbers are at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. If you had a rig with these 5 cards, you would bring in revenue of $2.97 with a profit of $1.24 versus $3.03 in revenue on BzMiner with a profit of $1.26. And then we'd get revenue of $3.11 on lolMiner, but the profit stays the same as BzMiner. So you may be asking yourself, well, it looks like, if I had a variety of cards similar to this, then lolMiner and BzMiner would be the way to go. However, what if your rig consisted solely of 3060 Ti's? Well, then Rigel Miner would actually be the way to go. And what about a 3070? Well, again, Rigel Miner would be the way to go. But what about a 3070 Ti? Well, in this case, BzMiner would be the way to go. And on a 3080, it looks like BzMiner would also be the way to go, as well as a 3080 3080 Ti. However, these are not the most efficient overclocks for each one of these GPUs. So I wanted to continue on with the test. So here we have a core offset of 280 with a locked core of 1300 and a memory clock of locked at 5001. As you can see, Rigel Miner on the 3070 Ti had the highest efficiency out of all of my tests, coming in at 0.6334, which is pretty significant, but you'll notice that even BzMiner came in above 0.60 at 6177. And the hash rate did drop a little bit on BzMiner on a 3070 Ti as opposed to Rigel Miner. Well, what about lolMiner? lolMiner had the highest hash rate but the lowest efficiency. And if we take a look at the rest of the cards, we go from 83 mega hash to 84 to 86.76. But as you can see, power increased 1 watt between Rigel Miner and BzMiner, but all the way up to 163 watts on lolMiner. And the worst performing card was the 3080 Ti on lolMiner at an efficiency of 0.4833. So we go from 98.92 to 98.8 to 101.5, and our power goes from 199 to 202 to 210. So how about profitability? Well, in this particular case, shooting for max efficiency, we've got $2.60 in revenue on Rigel Miner with $1.10 in profit. And then we've got $2.58 in revenue on BzMiner with $1.06 in profit. And then we have lolMiner coming in at $2.66 a day in revenue and $1.08 in profit. So in this case, we've got Rigel Miner on top, followed by lolMiner in second, and then BzMiner in last. So we're not done yet. The next thing I wanted to do is increase our total hash rate and try and maintain a little bit of efficiency here. So next we've got core offset of 280 with a locked core of 1650 across every single one of the GPUs. And as you can see, a 3060 Ti and a 3070 are still outperforming BzMiner, but once we get to lolMiner, we start increasing in hash rate here over Rigel Miner. However, our efficiency goes down pretty drastically. Now, the most efficient between the 3060 Ti and the 3070 is still Rigel Miner, coming in at 0.57 on a 3070. And then we have a 3070 Ti coming in at 73.14 mega hash at 136 watts versus 75.22 mega hash at 138 watts, and then 77 mega hash at 144 watts. Then we've got the 3080 at 98.1 at 179 watts versus 105 mega hash at 192 watts versus 107 mega hash at 192 watts. So see here, the wattage actually stayed the same between lolMiner and BzMiner, and efficiency was slightly better on lolMiner than it was on BzMiner, and we get higher hash rate. So then we've got the 3080 Ti. We jump from 117.4 at 228 watts to 124.7 at 242 watts, and then 125.8 at 246 watts. So how did we do on revenue and profit? Well, Rigel Miner at $3.16 in revenue, $1.29 in profit. Then we've got BzMiner at $3.27 in revenue at $1.31 in profit. And then we have, slightly edging out, BzMiner, $3.33 a day in revenue on lolMiner with $1.32 in profit. So if we take all of these different overclocks and we combine them, let's say we had this, a farm as opposed to one rig, how would they perform in revenue and profit? Well, believe it or not, lolMiner comes in on top at $3.66 a day in profit and $9.10 in revenue, as opposed to BzMiner and Rigel Miner tying at $3.63 a day in profit, but a little bit more revenue out of BzMiner. So at this point, I feel like I still can't declare a winner because we're basing everything off of 10 cents per kilowatt hour. And I'm pretty sure that most of you out there are paying a little bit more than 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So what if you were paying 15 cents per kilowatt hour? How would they perform? Well, in this case, believe it or not, Rigel Miner comes in on top. Now, there was a difference in revenue because I did these at 2 different time frames. I used Hashrate.no's calculator, manually put in my total megahash and my wattage. And when I did this initially to get these numbers here, as you can see, it changed when I went in there for a second time. So it dropped down from $8.73 to $8.66. But regardless, all 3 of these were done at the same time. So assuming that nothing changed, Rigel Miner comes in on top if you're paying more than 10 cents per kilowatt hour perhaps. But everybody's circumstances are different. You may have nothing but 3070s, or the majority of your farm may be 3070s or 3060 Ti's, and in that case it looks like Rigel Miner would definitely be the way to go. But if you have higher tier cards like a 3070 Ti all the way up through a 4090 perhaps, then it looks like it depends on what you're paying per kilowatt hour. So this has been a very intriguing test to me, and really what it boils down to for me is all 3 of these miners are absolutely fantastic. They continue to increase hash rate, they continue to increase efficiency, and I'm super thankful for the competition in all 3 of these guys. So my hat goes off to all of you, and depending on your circumstances, that's going to determine the winner. But for me, I'm calling it a 3-way tie. Sorry, I know that you probably want a specific answer, but again, you just take a look at the cards that you have and what you're paying per kilowatt hour. Perhaps make your own spreadsheet. I'll go ahead and leave a copy of this down in the description below so that you guys can tinker with it. But that's it for this video. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you on the next one.